Yeah, good morning. Let me start off by telling the progress that we have come to right now, what progress we have made. One good thing that happened is we have one more candidate who has completed level 1 and has come to level 2. And today onwards, we are going to start the training on level 2. That is the software related training where we will be learning PHP, MySQL and jQuery. Okay, so before we start, we have to log into training.rizola.com/software. Let me log in there. So the high incident that I had last time was, of course, we had new customers in our business, and low incident is I should say probably less sleep because I had little extra work, so the sleep was little sacrificed. Top learning that I started reading a new book. For example, the name of the book is What I Did Not Know About Jesus. That's a new book that I started, so that's something that's really nice. And I am marking myself really good in all these things, but probably since my sleep was a little less, probably I'll mark 4 on this. And exercise also has been a little less in the last 1 week, so I'll still mark 4. And the rest of them has been quite good. So that's what I would mark, and let me go in. So here I'll log into the project, and we'll start off with today's training. I'll stop it at 12, and I'll say level 2. I'm going to start off with level 2. Okay, so having logged in here, what I'll do now is I will open the content. Let me open the content here. So this is where we are going to start today, the PHP content. So what is server and client programs? Okay, now this is a fundamental concept that we have to understand before we get into the coding part. So all these things you see here are absolutely basic. A little more advanced in PHP will come in the next section that we will be covering in the coming days. So the first one is what is server and client programs. Now to explain this, what I will do is I will open Microsoft Paint so that I can draw and explain. The reason is because this particular concept is quite important. You have to understand what it is, and without understanding this, it's quite difficult to do this PHP, MySQL and jQuery programming. So I thought I'll use PowerPoint instead of Paint, because here I can move the images around and I can explain that clearly. So I said that there is something called server and there is something called client side. Okay, that is what is written in the content here. What is server and client side programs? So there are two things. Obviously there are two things. One is server programs and the other one is client side programs. Okay, now you have to understand this, because without understanding this, as I said, you will not succeed in creating PHP, MySQL, jQuery, browser-based web applications and software. So to explain this clearly, let me try to put it this way. So what happens in cloud programs? Okay, cloud programs or cloud software. Okay, first of all, what is cloud? The word cloud is used when we are working on the internet. For example, when you use a Gmail ID and when you open the gmail.com on a browser, you are actually using a cloud software, a software that works over the internet. Okay, now for this software to work, let me update here. So we are discussing about cloud, client and server. So this is what we are discussing right now. So for this software to work on the internet, we have to store the software or the files in a particular location somewhere in in the world, any location in the world. Okay, so that location where it is stored on a computer, and that computer is called a server. Server is you can also take it in the literal meaning of the word, something that serves, something that gives. Okay, like you have a server in a restaurant or a hotel, the same way you have a server that serves the software or the website or whatever you would like to view on your computer, which is not there on your computer, but which is pulled out from another place. Now all those softwares and programs are placed in a server. So basically, as I said, server is nothing but a computer. It's a computer. It has a hard disk, it has RAM, it has processor, all that. It has everything that a computer requires. It has all those things. That is a server. Okay. Let me change the name of this one to probably this color. Okay, so that's a server. Okay, now that is where the entire softwares sit. All the softwares, they sit inside a cloud server. I'll send this to the back side. Okay, so the cloud softwares, they sit inside a server. Let me make it like this. Okay, and this is nothing but the server. I'll also I'll make it bold, I'll make it a little bigger. So this is a server. So server is where all your files are kept. The website files, the software files, even sometimes photos and everything that you keep in another location, but you access it on your mobile or on your laptop through the browser or maybe through some other software. All that is kept on a server. Okay. Now, what is a client side? Client side is something that you see either on a mobile or on a laptop or a desktop. Okay. Now, I'll do something similar on this side also, client side, and usually the client side is accessed through a browser, or it is also accessed through a software or app on the client side. So for example, when you are using WhatsApp on your phone, what you see is a software or a mobile app which basically pulls the latest information, the latest communication, latest images from the server. Of course, once it pulls those data from the server, then it stores it on your phone into your local storage area. Okay, so that WhatsApp software is a client-side program. It's a client-side program. So let me do it like this. So this is a client. Okay, this is a client-side program. So let me move this to the left and little this to the right. Okay. So as I said, an example for a cloud software is Gmail. Even for example, what we are using here, this particular training software here, we are discussing about difference. Okay, this particular training software, the actual software is sitting in the Rejola server. Okay, what you are seeing here is only a browser-based rendering of the software. That is what you are seeing here on the browser. The actual software is not on my computer here when I am doing this particular video. The actual software is sitting on a server. Our servers are in UK, so it basically comes from there. All the information for the software, it comes from there. Okay, so on the client side, usually the cloud softwares are viewed on the browser. So that is why you are opening training.rejola.com on a Chrome browser or Edge browser or a Mozilla browser. That is the reason why you are opening it on a browser. So that's how you access the software which is present on a server, which comes onto the browser, and then it is shown over here. So what happens is there is a continuous communication between the server and the client side program. So I'll try to find an arrow, maybe this one, which shows that. Okay, so there is a continuous communication, data communication between the both. I'll just put this, or maybe I'll make it a little darker. Okay, so there is a continuous communication of data between the client and the server, and the softwares that are sitting on the server are different from the softwares that are sitting on the client. Both of them are completely different. Of course, of late we have a single program which can run both on the client side and on the server side. So nowadays, because of the technology changes and new programming languages coming up, like Node.js platforms and all that, you can use a single programming language to work both in the front end and in the back end. That is, it will also work on your front end device, that is on your, probably on your phone or laptop, and also it can work on the server. Of course, in our curriculum or scope, we would not be covering those. Once you get these, those are also going to be easy. All it will take is a little bit of self-learning. So having said that, having understood that there is a server sitting somewhere else centrally and the client is sitting somewhere else, and there can be multiple clients. So there can be multiple mobile phones, multiple laptops. For example, in our group, we have around 60 members who are getting trained right now, and even if each one of them are in different locations and they are accessing it on the client side on their browsers, the same server would be sending the software to different people. Okay, so that's something that you need to know about server and client. So what comes under server? So PHP is a server-side programming. MySQL is a server-side database language. So these are the two things that we would be learning, and they are server-side software programs or programming languages. Whereas on the client side, we would be using something called jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library. I will come into more detail about what is jQuery and what is JavaScript and how it is used, and it's a pretty popular programming language. So we will be using one of the libraries called jQuery because it has a lot of features. And even Bootstrap also has a lot of features in it that also has a jQuery element inside it. The jQuery and also the JavaScript element inside it. So we will be covering in this course, we will be covering mainly jQuery part. Okay. So this is one differentiation that you have to know before we get into learning about each of the programs and all that. So let me put it like this. Okay. So let me save this file. Let me go to desktop, training software. Okay. So backside we'll put it here. So I'll save it with today's date, and I'll call it as server client. Okay, so that is what we are doing, server and client. So this is something that we have completed. So let us come to the next part of it and see why is a server program required. Okay, so let us make an update here. Server program required. Why is a server program required? So coming back to this place, see what happens is when we are getting the software onto the client side, that is on our browser, on a phone or on a laptop. For example, as I'm saying, this particular software, this is a software, training.rejola.com is a software. So what you see here is something that's happening on my computer. I'm recording it right now, and you can see that a lot of things are happening. When I'm saving it here, I'm clicking here and it directly saves onto saves, and then it comes over here also, and it also comes below over here, and you can also see here whatever we have done in the past, everything is there below here. And you can see a timer here, you can see how much time this particular session has run, you can see how many hours I've worked or I've trained in this month, how much today, how much this week. All these calculations are happening, and how it happens is, what happens is, if I do not have a server, okay, and if I am running this particular software on my browser here on this computer, Tomorrow, if I want to go to another location, see, for example, right now I am in Chennai, and if I want to go to another city, let's say I want to go to Bangalore, and I want to run the same software, and I don't have an access to my computer, I have to access the software on another computer, because I've not taken my computer. I want to get onto a public computer there, and I want to access this software. I will not be able to retrieve these informations, like whatever I have saved before, whatever time I have saved before. I will not be able to retrieve these informations from another location, like in Bangalore. So that means that does not help me, because it does not give me a freedom to travel without a device. So I'll have to always carry my device with the information there to every single location. Instead, what happens when you have a server side storage and a software? What happens when you have this is, you will be, whatever storage is happening when you're accessing this particular software on the client side, that is this one, when you're accessing it on the client side, every single information is being stored on the server, okay, through the internet. So what is happening is, when I am saving my time here, or what I'm going to what next, or my session timing, starting information and all that, when I'm doing that, what is happening here on my browser is, it is actually exchanging data with the server. It is sending the data to the server, and it is getting back whatever information is required, and it is showing here. So what that means is, even if I close my browser right now, and then I open it again later on the same machine, or I close it here and I open it on another day on another machine or another device, the information is going to come once again from the server to the client. So that is the advantage of having a server, a central location where all the information is put, and you can access it from anywhere. For example, you take Gmail, you can access it from one mobile, another computer, or another. Maybe if you're going to a printing shop, you can access it on their computer and open your Gmail and then access your files. Why? How are you able to access it at different places? Reason is because everything is being stored at a central location on a server. Now that is the reason why we would require a server. So why is a server program required? And the programming on a server is required so that you can handle all this data. So whatever data is coming from the client side. So for example, if I am saying I will train till 12 o'clock, and I want to train on level 2, and I click on save, that particular information is sent all the way to the server. So from the client, it is sent to the server. So once it is sent to the server, on the server, I have to receive that information, and I have to store it in a database in a particular location so that I can access it later. So that is why you need a server side program. Okay, so we have covered this one. So why is a server side program required? Okay, next, background about PHP. Okay, a little background about PHP and what is PHP. We are just starting. Okay, background about PHP. We are not getting into depth today. We'll get into the depth probably tomorrow. So a little background about PHP. Okay, few things that I know about PHP is, it is basically the PHP itself. It stands, I think, for preprocessor hypertext preprocessor or something like that. Okay, yeah, here it is, hypertext preprocessor. So PHP stands for this. And what is PHP? See, PHP was created mainly for creating websites and web applications. So that was the intention behind creating PHP. And PHP was created on top of C programming language. So basically, what runs the C program is what runs the PHP is the C programming language that sits below the PHP language. So here, if you see, PHP 8 Alpha 3 available for testing. When I started learning PHP, that was in 2011, PHP 5 was coming out. So then PHP 5, after 5 directly PHP 7 had come around 2000, I think 17 or 2015 time, which PHP 7 had come, and now we have PHP 8 rolling out in 2020. So probably by 2021 PHP 8 release also would come. Okay, one of the good releases would come. So PHP is a programming language that is used for web applications. In fact, initially when Facebook was built, it is said that it was first built on PHP, and later on, of course, Facebook has adopted many programming languages to ensure that the entire Facebook software runs really well. But PHP is still being used, a version that is modified by Facebook itself. So PHP is still being used by Facebook, and most of the websites and most of the web applications that are running on the internet are using PHP. Okay, so PHP is a programming language, and so let's see some more information. What else can I tell you about PHP? PHP looks a lot similar to C programming language. So if any of you have gone through C programming language, PHP looks almost similar to that, and that's why I also started liking PHP, because one of my famous programming languages is C, and that happens to be one of my first programming languages. I think I picked up C programming language in 1998. So it was one of the best programming languages to have learned, and when I found that PHP is something similar to that, I really liked PHP a lot. Of course, PHP has taken many concepts from the object-oriented programming languages also, which comes in C++. So PHP is a little more advanced, you can say, or it uses more advanced concepts than C alone. C is a sequential programming language, but extremely powerful programming language. So that is about PHP. You can read, of course, a lot about PHP when you just Google what is PHP. Okay, you can just read, and I would recommend that you read. Okay, hypertext preprocessor. I recommend that you read through this. It will be quite helpful. Okay. Having said that, I think we'll cover one more topic and then we will close for today. We will cover on Linux and Windows Server. Okay, so let us just cover that and we'll close. So Linux and Windows Server. So we have seen here that there is a server and there is a client side, and we have seen that PHP is basically a server side program which runs on the server. Now most of us would be using Windows computer, a Windows operating system computer. Most of us. There would be very few of us who would be using a Linux based computer operating system. The reason is because Windows is much popular and it is much easier to use, whereas Linux is not that popular, but it has its own pros and cons. It is a choice for many of the programmers. In fact, Linux is something that is very core in the Mac, iOS, Mac and Apple machines. The understanding of Linux and Windows is a little important because PHP runs on a Linux environment. Okay, PHP, the software, or the PHP as a platform, it runs on a Linux server. Okay, so if you are using a Windows operating system laptop or a computer, you will not be able to directly run a PHP code over there. You need something that will make your Windows to run a PHP code. Okay, so Linux, basically it's an operating system, and Linux is a free operating system. It's you need not pay for it. Okay, and there is a big community that promotes Linux. Windows is of course not free. They of course did give something for free for some time, but it is not a free operating system. It is run by Microsoft, of course, and it has its own benefits. It's quite easy to use, and it has its own negatives also. So Linux and Windows, but to run PHP you require Linux server. when I say Linux server, it's basically a program that will run on your Windows machine, which can run your PHP codes that you write, whatever we are going to write. So we have briefly covered this concept, that is background about PHP, Linux and Windows Server. So what we will do is we will go ahead with variables and all that tomorrow, and let us see if we also start whether we will be installing a Linux server. Probably we'll start off from there tomorrow. Okay. So what we'll do tomorrow is we will install Linux server. That is what we will do tomorrow, and we will also install an IDE, that is Integrated Development Environment. I will explain about that more tomorrow, because both of these things are extremely important for you to be able to develop PHP code and the web application software. So we'll cover that tomorrow. So for now we'll end this session. Thank you very much this is the first video of level 2, and more exciting days to come, because you will really see a lot of dynamic activities happening and a lot of power that is going to be there. So I have ended the session. Thank you very much, and hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.